What's good, YouTube? Welcome back. Thank you for clicking onto this reaction. I hope you're looking forward to it just as much as I am. If you haven't already, head over to the content creators page. That link is in the description box down below. If you haven't already and you're enjoying our content, you know what you need to do. You need to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, but we're going to jump straight into this one. First Battle of Tarain, 1191 AD. Let's go. What have you got for us, History Marche? It's been a minute. Okay.
The Battle of the Talas River was a decisive moment for the history of Central Asia,
That it really was.
even though its effects were not immediately apparent. Abbasid victory not only stopped China's westward expansion, but also determined the religious path of a region that is at the crossroads of Asia.
Okay.
The ensuing centuries saw the gradual conversion of local populations to Islam, among which were the warlike Turkish tribes, nomadic warriors that were especially gifted horse archers. Their mastery of horsemanship
I like that
hadn't gone
animation.
unnoticed by the Muslim caliphates, who recruited them to serve as an elite arm of their own armies. However,
Really taking them under
in the
their
wake
wing.
of the breakup of the Abbasid Caliphate into smaller states and sultanates, these elite Turkish warriors emerged as the power brokers in the region.
Oh.
One of the first breakaway
Not taking them
sultanates
under
was
the wing,
founded
they're just
by
taking
Mahmud
control.
of Ghazni. Today's video is sponsored by World of Tanks. Under the leadership of Mahmud of Ghazni, the Ghaznavids became a significant power, and he was among the first to adopt the title of Sultan. Mahmud was able to
Interesting. So he was
inflict
the
a
first
series
sultan.
of military defeats to the Hindu Shahis, and for the first time penetrate into the heartland of India. He launched 16 large-scale raids targeting the wealthy religious centers, with the ultimate goal of amassing fame and wealth within the Islamic world.
Okay.
However, he did not try to retain a permanent foothold in the area, and the locals were able to recover from Ghaznavid raids. But with the death of Mahmud began a gradual decline, and by mid-12th century, one of his former vassals, the Ghurids, a dynasty of Tajik origin, gradually asserted their authority in the Ghor region, methodically expanding
So it's
their
really
power
not
base
the lasting
until
long
they
for his
eventually
dynasty
sacked
at
the
all.
city of Ghazni in 1149, thereby emerging as an independent power. What followed was a period of expansion that would lead to the formation of the Ghurid Empire, under the leadership of two brothers, Ghayath al-Din and Muiz
Everything
al-Din,
splits,
also
man.
known as the Muhammad of Ghor. During the 1170s and 1180s, they embarked on a series of successful campaigns against the neighboring
I'm liking the
Seljuks
animation he's
and other
using.
pretenders to the Ghurid throne.
Like with the
Ghayath
characters.
al-Din concentrated on the western domains of the empire, while Muhammad, after helping his brother to secure the west, looked southwards to India.
They're worried about the Seljuks.
But unlike the Ghaznavids that came before, Muhammad aimed at carving out an empire in India, and the nearby Rajput kingdoms appeared ripe for the taking.
Ooh, okay. He has a lot more ambition.
This was the time of the Rajput kingdoms. Rajputs were a loose grouping of patrilineal clans found in the Indian subcontinent.
Okay.
After the dissolution of the
informing me.
Pratihara Empire, their former feudatories established decentralized power bases all over central and western India.
Right.
Many kingdoms sprang into existence, all culturally and ethnically indistinguishable from one another, yet mutually antagonistic. Between 1000 and 1200 AD, the Rajput kingdoms had to face constant incursions and invasions from Turkish tribes. During the times of Muhammad of Ghor, northern India was divided into three main power centers: the Solanki Chalukyas of Gujarat, the Gadavalas under Jai Chandra at Kannauj, and the Prithviraj Chauhan of Ajmer and Delhi. The most prominent of these kingdoms was that of Prithviraj Chauhan. By 1178, Muhammad was intent on attacking India, and his main invasion route led directly through Prithviraj's domain.
How's this going
His
to go
first
then?
intended target was the Chalukya Solanki kingdom. Subsequently, he sent an envoy to the court of Prithviraj, attempting to persuade the Indian king to come to a peaceful agreement. According to terms
what were the
presented
terms,
by
though?
the envoy,
Here we go.
Muhammad would agree to provide passage and divide the Solanki kingdom with Prithviraj. In addition, he demanded that
Interesting.
Prithviraj convert to Islam and accept Ghurid suzerainty. Prithviraj rejected, but failed to send reinforcements to the neighboring kingdom that was about to be attacked.
That's going to come back and like bite him in the arse, right? Because now you're just giving the opposition a foothold within your kingdom, or your area, your homeland.
On a circuitous route through the Tar Desert and into the outskirts of Chalukya territory. After many days of marching through inhospitable and hostile territory, he was eventually confronted by a large Chalukya army on a valley near Mount Abu.
Okay.
Muhammad's army, tired and dehydrated from the long march and unable to use the mobility of its cavalry within the narrow valley, was forced into a close quarters frontal battle against the Rajputs and was eventually routed.
Ah, what a
However,
shame.
the fleeing Ghurid army was not decisively pursued by the Chalukyas and thus avoided total destruction. Nevertheless, the invading army suffered heavy casualties during the battle and the subsequent retreat back across the desert. In spite of this setback, Muhammad was not a man to be disheartened by adversities, and during the following decade, he set out to rebuild his forces and expand his territories into Peshawar.
He's just going to take a slow...
He then advanced with his army and took Sialkot, and by 1187 he conquered Lahore, executing its ruler.
Yeah, just slowly going to solidify his position.
Now, his realm bordered Prithviraj's domain, and between 1187 and 1190, a series of minor and medium probing incursions were launched. The situation escalated rapidly, and in 1190, Muhammad concentrated a large force of horse warriors and advanced against the important border fortress of Bathinda. After a brief siege, he was able to capture the stronghold and placed a garrison there, under the command of one of his generals. News of Bathinda falling to the enemy soon reached Delhi. The shock of the loss of this significant stronghold galvanized Prithviraj into action. He called upon his feudatories, quickly amassing a large army, and marched out to meet the invaders. Upon learning of the king's approach, Muhammad set out with his mounted army to intercept him.
Muhammad wants all of this smoke. He's like, let's go. Bring it.
The two armies met on the fields of Tarain, some 150 kilometers north of Delhi. While exaggerated contemporary accounts place the size of Prithviraj's army at around 200,000 troops, modern historians estimate that the Rajput army did not exceed 50,000 men.
That makes more sense.
The Rajputs of the period were ferocious warriors who excelled in close combat, which they generally favored. Indian metallurgy and weapons were renowned for their quality and generally enjoyed a reputation as the best in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A further edge in close quarters fighting.
Interesting.
On the other side of the field, the size of Muhammad's army was similarly exaggerated, with original sources claiming that around 100,000 troops arrayed on the field, while the actual size of the Ghurid force was around 15,000 cavalry.
Oh, he's heavily outnumbered.
But their exact number is unknown. Although substantially outnumbered, Muhammad's mounted force was comprised of professional Mamluk slave troops, agile and fast-moving horse archers, who were superior to their feudal counterparts. The two armies represented opposite ends of the military spectrum. On one side,
cavalry.
a feudal force of slow-moving, undisciplined but courageous warriors, with little to no experience in dealing with complicated cavalry maneuvers. And on the other side, a swift and fast-moving mounted army of professional soldiers, almost exclusively composed of steppe cavalry that excelled in mobile warfare.
So surely they're going to win, right?
The Ghurid army deployed in a standard Turkic battle formation, with an advanced guard, a strong center, and 2 wings.
Okay.
A relatively small reserve of elite Ghulam lancers was kept in the rear. Across the field, Prithviraj deployed his army in a linear formation, with 2 wings and a center. The large force of elephants was deployed in front of the main line.
Those elephants are going to scare
with
the
a
shit
probing
out of the
attack
horses,
ordered by
right?
Muhammad. The horse archers of the vanguard galloped towards the huge bulk of the Indian army and began peppering their formations with arrows.
But as soon as those
Prithviraj's
elephants
response to
go,
this was immediate. He ordered an all-out frontal assault. This surprised the Ghurids, who weren't accustomed to the Rajput style of warfare.
no tactical prowess, just let's
Muhammad's
go.
vanguard retreated toward their main line, but the Rajputs unexpectedly moved so rapidly that the Ghurids were unable to respond accordingly.
Okay.
Before Muhammad could maneuver and adapt to this general charge, his vanguard's retreat was blocked by the men behind them, and the Rajputs were quickly closing in.
Shit.
Incredibly, the Ghurid warriors held off the massive charge, their experience and professionalism paying dividends as they cut down wave after wave of enemy attacks. But with the Indian cavalry striking the Ghurid flanks, Muhammad's entire line was dislodged.
Nah,
the
that's
Muslim
it.
commander could see that his army will be overwhelmed. The fierce melee slowly began to turn in favor of the Rajputs, who were able to display their prowess in close quarters.
As if Muhammad
The sheer
hasn't
weight of their
used
numbers
the
became a
mobility
decisive
to his
factor,
favour.
as the Ghurid flanks were gradually driven back and cut off from their center.
Holy shit.
Unable
Big
to
blunder.
withstand the pressure of the Indian onslaught, Muhammad's troops on the flanks broke and fled. Meanwhile, the war elephants and cavalry of Prithviraj's center that had driven back the Ghurid vanguard onto their front line kept the Turkish center under sustained pressure. Here, too, the light horsemen were outside of their element.
Yeah, no, they're just
hemmed
going to be
in by
getting
the immense
crushed.
pressure of the relentless Rajput advance, and unable to use their mobility, they began to waver. Muhammad now understood that the battle had reached its critical point. Seeing his flanks routing and his center on the verge of collapse, he charged into the fray, attempting a personal last-ditch effort to reverse the course of battle.
Okay. Nice. Get into the middle of the
The
stick.
general soon came face to face with the commander of the Rajput center, Govind Rai, who was mounted on an elephant, personally charging his front lines.
Okay.
As
What
soon
does he
as
do?
Muhammad spotted him, he hurled his spear at him. Govind Rai was able to block the projectile with his shield, but the impact broke a few of his front teeth. In turn, Govind threw his own spear, critically wounding Muhammad, almost knocking him unconscious.
Oh. So it's a
Unable to defend
defeat
himself, Muhammad of Ghor was saved by the heroic actions of one of his
for the
bodyguards,
Muslims. It's
who was
defeat
able
for
to
the
lift the
Muslims in
Sultan
this
onto
one.
his horse and spirit him away from the battlefield. The remaining leaderless Ghurid army, seeing their general carried off the battlefield, broke and routed. The Rajputs pursued the retreating army of Muhammad for almost 40 kilometers, but they couldn't match the pace of the fast-moving steppe mounts of their enemy. Muhammad underestimated the strength and ferocity of the Rajput frontal assault and their ability in close combat. Prithviraj's
fatal
audacity
mistake.
and explosiveness caught the Ghurids off guard and forced them to an engagement that played into his own strengths. The Indian commander took the initiative early in the battle and retained it throughout the engagement,
Need to give it to
forcing his
him.
enemies to react to his actions and rendering them unable to employ their advantages in mobility and firepower. The ultimate salvation of the Ghurids was the fact that the Indian army was incapable of completely pinning them down and destroying them during their retreat. And
That
although
was
Muhammad
that
of
was the
Ghor
thing
was
that
now
made them
retreating,
come like.
he would live to fight another day.
So that is the reason why we've got a second battle, is because they weren't able to completely crush them when they were fleeing and they were obviously routing.
Credit
that's
goes
the
to
end of
our
this one.
awesome patrons who make videos like this one possible. Consider joining them to support.
So the first campaign that led to the First Battle of Tarain lasted over 12 months, starting in 1190, while the battle probably took place in the winter of 1191. That's so interesting. So it lasted a long time. It was quite a fair bit of it was a fairly long campaign.
By subscribing to our channel and clicking.
The route of the Turkic army was total. Yeah, the route of the Turkic army was total, but their ponies outpaced the opposition, allowing them to recover and rebuild their army over the coming months. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I'm pretty sure that's the end of it for this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. If you haven't already, head over to HistoryMarche's page, that link's in the description box down below. If you enjoyed my reaction and look forward to future reactions, you know what you need to do. You need to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, but I will catch you in the next video.